The third question that I want you to ask is, what needs to shift? What needs to shift in my delivery model to create both client results, again, because that's what we're here for, right? But that will create both client results as well as personal freedom, because one without the other is, again, is going to lead to burnout. Welcome back to another episode of Charyse Williams Show, and more specifically, the Quantum Expansion Series. This is actually episode 4, which is, you're not booked out, but you might be burned out, or you might be burning out, right? So today, we're going to talk about how to shift from hustling for clients to building a more peaceful, more spacious, more scalable, and aligned business. How about that? Yes, let's hop into it. So, our previous 3 episodes in this 4-part series. So, episode 1 in the 4-part series was, we talked about the embodiment gap. Episode 2, we talked about the messaging and offers gap. And then episode 3 of this series, we talked about the momentum gap / conversion gap. And so in this final episode of this particular series, I'm going to talk about this little sneaky success trap, which is, you might very well have a full calendar, which at first glance, it's like, oh, that's perfect. That's what I want. I want a fully filled calendar. But there's a difference between having a full calendar, but you're maxed out on energy, right? You feel like you literally have no more capacity. The reality of it is this: you did not leave your job. You did not create a business just to feel like you have another job, right? And I see this so often. And to where, one of the beautiful things of building a business is that we can, and absolutely should, as my personal opinion, we should have a business that honors what is important to us and honors our values. But again, oftentimes we lose sight of that, and we get into this rut of just building a business and getting it to a profitable business, and then just we keep stacking, and then we completely lose sight of what it is that's important to us. And then we look up and we're like, oh my gosh, what have I created? Again, you created another job that's disguised as a business, and that's not what we want, right? And because you look up and it's something that's totally unsustainable, like you have no desire to sustain that level. It's not scalable, and it's not deeply fulfilling like you had hoped it to be. So we need to change all of that, right? So in this episode, you're going to learn how to stop stacking clients just to quote unquote hit numbers or hit a revenue goal, and start building a business and a business model that creates, yes, absolutely cash revenue, right? But also creates the capacity and freedom that you truly desire. So, booked but broke, or booked and burned out, or maybe you're not burned out, but perhaps you see burnout on the horizon. Either way, it's not where we want to be, right? This is not why we created this business, right? So you may be making money, but you're capped in capacity, or worse, you're over delivering and you have very little profit to show for it. Again, either way, it's a no-go. That's not what we want. So you may have even had the thought like, okay, I'm fully booked, but I'm not fully free. Like I'm booked, but where's my income? Like the amount of work that I'm putting in, the amount of effort and work and energy and time that I'm putting in, like what is there to show for it? So if you've experienced or had any of those thoughts, this episode is so for you. And I will just drop this right here. If you're like, oh my God, I have a friend that is totally her life, we literally just have this story, share this episode with her. Do her a favor and share this episode with her, or him for that matter. So let's talk about some signs of like being in an overworking type of business model. Okay. So one, you have clients, but your client load feels completely unsustainable. You're like, oh my gosh, you want to help, right? That's why we're here. We're here to help facilitate healing. Ultimately, that is our goal. That is our desire. And so part of you is like, yeah, I want more clients, but the other are patients. And the other part of you is like, there is no way. Like if I see one more person, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, right? So that's one sign. The other sign is you're trading. You might be stuck in this cycle of trading time for dollars, right? And even if it's at a higher rate, because here's the thing, There's only so much time in the day. So that is not a scalable model at all, because you only have so much time. Okay, so you might find that that's something that you're experiencing, that you're bumping up against. You might find that, the delivery, your patient delivery or client delivery, however you have your program, your offer or your program structured, maybe it's draining because it's not aligned. It's draining of your energy, it's draining of your passion. It might be draining you of your creativity, but at the end of the day, it's draining. And again, that is not why you started your business. Okay, so that's something that we need to look at and shift as well. And you can't scale. You can't. You could be looking at your business. You're like, I don't know how the heck I'm going to scale this without doing more. And the mere thought of doing more, you're like, like, how could I do more? I'm already to capacity, right? So those are just some signs and symptoms, if you will, of a business model that, number one, is keeping you in overworking, over delivery mode, but also is keeping you from being able to scale and really preventing preventing you from really stepping into the business that you really had in mind from the start. Okay, so you think you need to get more clients, perhaps, right? Because you're wanting to hit the next revenue goal, or whatever the case may be. But let me just tell you what you really need. You want to know what you really need? I thought you might. What you really need is, you really need to refine your delivery, redefine or refine how it is that you deliver your offer, your program, your services to your clients, so that it's in alignment with what it is that you value. Which, for most of you, from the conversations that I've had with many of you, it's freedom, time freedom, right? And it's flexibility with your schedule. It's being more present, not just for you, being able to prioritize you, but also prioritize your family and not have your business running you, right? And so you really want to refine your delivery so that way you have more of a scalable business, because that's the only way. That's the only way. Something's going to have to shift, right? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to, as you know, we're all about taking action, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk and literally implementing. Information is great, but information without implementation is nothing. It's just more information in your brilliant head, and you have tons of information in there. So this is about implementation. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to literally ask yourself 3 questions. Okay, I want you to look at your current offer, and if you have multiple offers, look at your signature offer, or the one that you sell the most, or the one that you're most passionate and excited about, whichever. Right. So I want you to look at that, your current offer, or your current service model, and ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is, how many clients can I actually take on sustainably? That's the key word, sustainably, right now. Okay. So how many clients can I actually take on sustainably right now? For some of you, you're like 0. And then for others of you, you may have some space there, but even thinking about, okay, I could probably take on 2 more, 5 more, 10 more, however, whatever the number is for you. But even the thought of that is even draining. Like, you say it, but you're like, oh, you get this feeling in the pit of your stomach, like, oh my gosh, that's gonna take more from me, right? That's a problem. We need to look at that. So, but that's question number 1. Question number 2 that I want you to ask yourself is, how much time, energy, and fulfillment is each client costing me? You've probably not ever thought about that. You've probably not ever pondered that, but this is a very important question to consider. How much time, how much energy, and how much fulfillment is each client costing me? Okay, and just get really real and honest with yourself. The third question that I want you to ask is, what needs to shift? What needs to shift in my delivery model to create both client results, again, because that's what we're here for, right? But that will create both client results as well as personal freedom, because one without the other is, again, is going to lead to burnout. Okay. And what happens is, if we continue towards burnout, ultimately what ends up happening is we tap out, and then the world gets robbed of your gifts, your talents, your brilliance. And that's not why we're here. We're here to make an impact, right? Yes, income, but also an impact. That's why we're all here. So question 3 is, what needs to shift in your delivery model to create both client results and personal freedom? Because you can have both. And if you think that you have to trade one for the other, then we definitely need to talk, because you can definitely have both. Okay. So write it down, journal your insights, and then that was step 1. And then identify one thing, just one. Identify one thing that you could streamline, automate, or restructure today. Okay, because again, this is about taking action. And let me just tell you, this is the type of work, this is exactly the type of work that we do inside of the Quantum Leap Collective. So we don't again, we don't just talk about it, we implement. So I will tell you this. I was gonna say I don't help you just sell, but so selling is a part of it. And if when I say the word sell, you're like your stomach turns, then we've got to reframe that. And it's because you're probably approaching sales in a way where you're clearly approaching sales from a perspective of like you're getting something from someone, or for whatever reason it feels weird or awkward or uncomfortable, whatever. And that is because you're not doing sales. You're doing sales wrong. The way I teach sales is from a place of, it's a very heart-led place, the heart-led process. There's a framework, it's a very specific framework that I teach, that I use, and that I teach all of my clients how to use, that number one, feels good, not just for you, but for them. Number two, it's a very conscious, heartfelt, client-led, heart-led way of sales. And all it is an exchange. It's an exchange of your services for exchange of money for your service for the solution. Because the bottom line is this: your patient, your clients are looking for solutions. They are desperately looking for solutions. So, and you have solutions that can absolutely help them. Now it's just a matter of it's combining the two in a very authentic, genuine way that doesn't feel awkward or slimy or salesy or sleazy or whatever. So I said all that to say that is my thing. That is my group, and that's definitely something that I teach. But it's not just the sales. It's not just the sales. Inside the Quantum Leap Collective, yes, you learn that, but we also help you build a business that feels sustainable at every level of growth, and that also is supports you, and that you're able to scale. It's able to scale with you and keep what is truly most important to you at the forefront. Okay. So if you are truly ready to stop spinning, right, and to start scaling with strategy, yes, with embodiment, absolutely, and with ease, most importantly, then I definitely recommend just check out the show, check out the link below. I'm going to have the team link the Quantum Leap Collective information down below in the show notes. Check it out. If it feels aligned, we would love to have you join us. And that being said, I'll see you next week for another episode of the Charyse Williams Show. As always, I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.